Welcome to Inside City Hall. I'm your host, Mayor Darrell Seymore, and today on our show we have Chief Joe Shelley from the Show Low Police Department and Chief Dan Barnes from Pinetop-Lakeside Police Department. Welcome, guys.
Thank
How
you,
are
Mayor.
you, Chief?
Good.
Thank you, Mayor. How are you, sir?
So let's talk about fishing. Why not? Huh?
Yeah.
You know, that's the most important thing. Have you guys been out, been able to do any of it?
I haven't been out this summer at all to fish,
None there.
unfortunately. You know, just been working this summer, so.
All right.
And the only place I've gone to is Fool's Hollow and Show Low Lake, so I have a lot of family and friends come up, so get to go out there for a little bit on the weekends.
Did you catch anything?
Actually, I did. Caught a couple of things, caught a smallmouth over at Fool's Hollow and a couple of trout over at Show Low Lake, so they're out there. Just got to use the right bait. Obviously, I wasn't using the right bait, but it was fun. It was a good time.
All right, obviously we're not here to talk about fish, but let's talk about maybe something that's every bit as exciting, you know, or could be as exciting when it comes to responding to an emergency, medical, whether it be, you know, fire, whether it be a medical or just an emergency of an intruder or something else to contact you. And that's our dispatch services that we have here in the White Mountains. And I know for many years we've been trying to work of centralizing or making some changes. Chief, why don't you just kind of share with us a little bit where the city of Show Low is, and then Chief, if you can kind of share with us where Pinetop-Lakeside is on that same item there, okay?
Well, a little bit of history of the background of it. About 6-7 years we've been working on regionalization for getting all of our communication systems together throughout the entire county, and came up with a really good plan. Just had to come up with all the other formula things with it, which would be cost and personnel and things like that, and also infrastructure, which is a big thing on cost. Came up with a good plan. We think we still have a good plan in place to do the county-wide thing. It's just going to take some time to get there. One part of that plan was getting all of South County together, and South County comes from anything from Show Low all through Heber-Overgaard, all the fire, EMS, all the way down through Pinetop-Lakeside, and doing all the fire, EMS, and police out of one station. So we're in the process of doing just that, and we're getting closer and closer, working the bugs out. It's coming to fruition probably within the next month or so, and we look forward to doing that. And what that means for anybody out there, this is the generic side of it, is that anybody picks up a 911 call anywhere in this jurisdiction, it's going to go to one call center. It's not going to get transferred all around. It'll go to one call center for EMS and fire and medical. And if there is something outside of the Show Low Pinetop area, it'll go to the county, and we'll switch it over to the county deputies to respond for that. But their fire, EMS will all be out of one system, and then also Show Low and Pinetop police departments will be out of one system. So that's going to be a really, really big thing for our community and getting our responses there a little bit faster. So,
Okay. What's some of the challenges or things that you see here in Pinetop of how you guys are working it?
Some of the biggest challenges are just getting some of the big chunks in place to make the move down. One of the bigger ones is 911. So we had to work with state 911 and work all the bugs out there. I think we're on track there, so we should have a smooth transition when we come over to our cutover point to move down to Show Low. Some other challenges are just making sure that our radio infrastructure is all in place to handle traffic clear up through Pinetop-Lakeside and get it back down to the centralized center here in Show Low. Getting our staffing reviewed for employment with Show Low and get them moved down as well. I think we're on track there as well. So we're going to have some good employees come down to assist with this center. So we're excited about that.
So does it look like Show Low is where the centralized will be for in the Show Low Police Department, or where is that going to take place?
Well, we going back a little bit, when we built the new public safety center over here in Show Low, part of that was the concept was to build the regional dispatch center in there. And so that's exactly where it's at. It's going to be inside the public safety where we house with Navajo County Sheriff's Office and us inside there, but we'll bring all the dispatch inside there. So we're building out the rest of the infrastructure inside that dispatch center to handle that load coming on and make sure that we have enough personnel trained up and do those things. But it's exciting. It really is to see the next step of what we all envision to help out our community a little bit better.
Is there some examples you can kind of share of the old system where we have issues of why this needs to be centralized?
I can kind of touch on that. I'm the 911 wireless administrator for Navajo and Apache County. So on the wireless side of things, Navajo and Apache County has towers all over each county, and each of those towers has sectors built into them. So they take a slice of pie from an area, and within that slice of pie there could be 3 or 4 jurisdictions that signal overshoots. So you can only assign that slice of pie to one agency. So it's not perfect not a perfect system. So if that comes into one agency and it doesn't happen to be a call for that particular agency that it's assigned to, then that agency has to triage that and then transfer that call back out to another agency. So we have time delays there, and that's been a big frustration over the years is those time delays and getting emergency services out to people who desperately need it when it comes time for that. So having one center in place that takes out all those agencies assigned to those sectors on cell towers. So that's kind of an example there of we're going to be fixing a lot of that, so by going to a single center.
And really anymore, cell phones are probably 80% of the use of phones or 911 calls.
It's probably
that you
close
have
to that, or
probably
even
come
maybe
in.
even above that these
Yeah.
days. So
Yeah, it's getting there because of all the cars that come through Show Low Pinetop. In our residential structure right now, 12 to 13,000 people, depending on what time of the year. But it can blow up with all the cars coming through here to, tens of thousands more people coming through on those cell phones. So with this kind of a system out there, geographical system, to where they all come into one center, we can dispatch services a lot quicker to get out to wherever they're at. If they see an accident on the street, wherever that's at, anywhere in South County, we'll be able to dispatch the appropriate personnel. And the other side of that is we're also coming up with the automatic vehicle locators, which means every single unit out there, fire, police, rescue, EMS, will have a locator on it, and the system will be able to pick that closest unit. So if you're driving down, going back, an engine company's going back towards their area of operation, next thing you know, they'll be close to an accident or something, and they can actually divert, cutting minutes off of a response time, which is in an accident or an emergency situation, minutes can make the difference between death and
Right.
living.
Sometimes it can even be seconds. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
huge on some of the things that way. What are some of the other hurdles that we see? One of the big topics has been dispatch. Is this going to create jobs or cut jobs? What do you see in the dispatching personnel handling it? Are we going to have too many or too few of dispatchers?
I don't believe that we're going to lose any staffing. I think we may even, going into it, we'll be pretty even, and then even gain some employees to fully staff the center in the future. And I think having a single center, we're going to be able to, and Chief Shelley can touch on that more, but be able to retain staff better and get them trained better to handle a job that is very difficult to do. These ladies and men that work in there have a huge task on their shoulders to receive everything that's coming in and make sure that it gets pushed out appropriate to the boots on the ground in the field.
Right.
So
I think one of the things, looking at it, we have been blessed not to have. We've had emergencies, we've had situations, but maybe not as blown up as what some other communities have had to deal with. And so sometimes when you look that there's usually 2 or 3 people there at any one given time, and you would have something like that hit, it could be really overwhelming for the few. This would at least probably double or in some cases triple the people that are accessible in one area to work this at any given time if we had one of those type of emergencies too.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it does give us the equipment and the availability to reach out with other jurisdictions, such as the Navajo County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center, the Apache County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center, working with them in conjunction to where if we need help, we can bring them in, and we have enough infrastructure there in place for them to have a seat and pick up the operations right there, or vice versa. Something seriously happens here to where we'd have to evacuate the center. We can also take our operations somewhere else because we're going to that age of cloud-based everything. And the idea is that you can go anywhere. Yeah, if you have internet-based, you can go right on there, plug your phones in, and start your work. So it's kind of a nice concept, and it's going to help us out tremendously. And I think we'll do very well with our personnel.
One of the other things too to add to that is by going to this single center, the Pinetop-Lakeside PD is also going to the same CAD and RMS system that Show Low uses. That's a computer-aided dispatching system and records management system. And by doing that, we can combine all the data from both agencies to allow us to better investigate things out in the field. Because we're all working with the same people out there. So by having that information sharing, it just betters everybody out there working in the field.
Oh, that's great. Cost, you know, I know that's probably, we don't know the full cost of this yet, but as far as working with all of the people and personnel and jurisdictions of communities, how broad is it going to be? So we're going to take from Heber to Pinetop to Holbrook all the way around? Do we have everybody on board pretty much?
Not yet. I mean, then that's the regional that's the county concept. This is just the first start, so it'd be South County. So we'll be Heber, Overgard, Pinedale, Clay Springs, Timber Mesa will be in there. Obviously, Timber Mesa has Lakeside and other jurisdictions around it, all the way down into Pinetop Fire and Pinetop Police Department. So all those jurisdictions will be out of one center. So those are going to be shared costs through all those, along with Arrowhead EMS, which is our provider here, our shared provider here in Show Low. So we'll be sharing all those costs. Whereas if I had to do it all by myself, those costs are a lot to put on one community. So it's working out very well for us, but the ultimate goal that we talked about doing the regional concept and the entire county-wide concept would be that. And I don't see that very far down the road, but this is a really good start to work out all the bugs. So that's what we're going to do.
Don't want to put you on the spots, but if you guys have numbers, do you kind of have call for service like in a given month of how many calls come into the emergency 911 calls in this area right now?
Actual 911 calls?
Yeah, ballpark.
Hard to say on that on a monthly basis. I don't have those numbers in my head at the moment, but you know, on average for our agency, you know, we handle about 10,000 calls for service per year. So I would say, you know, probably, you know, half of those could be related to 911 related incidents where we need to send a response out.
Right.
Could be a little less than that.
And we're about 32,000 calls for service a year. So altogether, but those aren't all 911s. But we handle about 500 to 600 calls per week is what we average. And if you doing the math on all of that, that's a lot of calls for service, a lot of business for the officers to create for those dispatchers inside there. So the work center, how we're redeveloping the work center inside the dispatch center is going to really help us out and streamline that process.
That's neat. And so being able to do that when you take all those calls, and if we could just zero in on one or two that could make a life difference to somebody, it's great. So, well, I appreciate it. Anything else you guys want to share on this subject today?
I think
I appreciate all the cooperative efforts by everybody that's been involved in this. And it is, like I said, it's a new process. We're going to have those bugs. So patience. Patience for us. And I say that on the consumer end, there's really nothing going to change. But on our end, there is going to be a change. So we have to change some of our mindsets to allow for those things to happen. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to work out very well for us.
And this is something that we just haven't done overnight. I mean, we've been years in the process of working on this. I can think back at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 years that, where we've been working together on this. But
I just want to thank the City of Show Low for allowing us to come in and work with you guys, because it's going to better our community. Everybody may not realize it now, but in a year from now, when all the bugs are worked out and everything's running smoothly, it's going to pay off tremendously for people who are needing those services out there. So.
And for the safety of our officers,
safety of our officers as well.
Safety of the fire guys. That's going to work out well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being
you,
here
sir.
today, Chief. Appreciate it. And Chief, thank you. Next time, let's go fishing together,
Absolutely.
okay?
Sounds good.
On that. Stay tuned for the next segment of Inside City Hall, where we'll have students from the Show Low High School. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Now we have Emma Walters and Elena Hackey from Show Low High School Student Government. Welcome. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for being here this morning.
Of course.
So you get out of school,
Yes.
you know, you get time off, you get to come, we get to sit down, we get to talk. You guys got to go down and stay at probably one of the neatest places in a long time that you've been to,
Yes.
down at the
Very nice.
Phoenician.
It was beautiful.
That was great. So tell us a little bit about what it is. The City Council, we invited some youth from the City of Show Low to come down and to experience the League of Cities. And so share with us your overall impression of how that was. You got to carry the flag in, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. So share with us a little your overall impression of how that weekend was for you.
So it was a good time. We got to stay at the nice hotel, like you mentioned, and we got the honor of carrying the flag to represent our city, which was great. And on top of that, we got to go to a few workshops where we learned valuable information about leadership.
Okay. What was your experience about everything?
Same thing. It was a great experience to be involved with the city council members. I really appreciated eating lunch with them and having conversations about what the city does at lunch. I think that was very cool. And then also the workshops. We were taught about bullying, advocacy, and job interviews and stuff like that.
So did it kind of shock you that there was that many people at that conference?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I had been before, so
yeah, okay.
I went
so
my
it
sophomore
shocked
year.
me a little bit.
Okay.
It was
And there was
good
also a
turnout.
lot of youth delegates as well from the other cities and
Yeah.
towns, and you guys had your opportunity to have your own workshops and some of the
Yes.
things that way.
Yeah,
That's great.
we were also, a part of it with the youth is a lot of them are student governments. We are a student council, so it's a little bit different. They're more involved in their city than we are. So it was really cool. They all get a presentation board and we walk around and see what other student governments are doing. And so we got to do that. And it gave us some really cool ideas of how we could get our school more involved with the city. So being a student council instead of a student government was a little different, but it was really cool to see the different things that they were doing.
Right. What were some of the takes that you took off of bullying that
Off
they
of
kind of shared with
bullying?
you there?
Well, they explained to us from a couple of different perspectives, like the perspective of the bully, how we're supposed to consider what they're going through, but also the perspective of the audience, how laughing and stuff encourages them. So,
Right.
So you may not be doing the bullying, but you're encouraging it by not doing anything.
I see, on the two sides. So do you see that happen at our school?
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
And so it is an issue that we have to be aware of and try to stop it and also be, for that person or stand up for them as well. And that kind of leads us into advocacy. What was the takes on advocacy that you had?
He was kind of explaining that everyone has a role in advocacy, no matter where you work, who you what your neighborhood is, because there's always people to help and always situations to be aware of. And it's good to get to know people from different backgrounds so that you're able to help them with whatever they need help with.
Okay. What are some of the things that you guys have advocated for or change, or that you think you have a voice in the city? Have you ever looked at that as what your role is as citizens of our community and what you can do to stand up and say, hey, we want this to happen in our community?
For me personally, not really in our city, but in our school for sure, which could lead to our city.
Mm-hmm.
But in our school, we're both involved in student council. I'm senior class president, and she's the student body vice president. So our roles there are kind of what do we want to see in our school? So we can take that and implement it into our what do we want to see in our city as well. So
Okay. It is. I mean, really, you are a big makeup, your youth, the youth group. A lot of the things that we try to have for activities, portrayed what the youth in our community is searching for and looking for. Years ago, they wrote letters to the mayor, kind of talking a little bit about the community, and they didn't like it because there wasn't enough things. We didn't have the mall, we didn't have this, we didn't have all these things. But then I shared, well, have you ever gone outside? Have you ever gone fishing? You ever gone hunting? You ever gone hiking, bike riding? They don't have those things in the city as much as what we have.
Very
It's,
true.
you have to realize where you live and what the opportunities you have for that.
For sure.
And to try to make a change there. So I think it's just exciting that you guys were able to go down and be part. And I know Vice Mayor Hatch and Councilmember Alsop have worked with you guys. They were able to have lunch with you and go through. Did you learn anything from those guys?
We just kind of got to see like what they're kind of doing, the behind the scenes stuff that's going on to improve our city, which was nice to learn about.
Okay.
Yeah, we also learned a little bit about them. Like I asked them like if they had always been involved in the city, and Alsop, he's been involved for forever, you know, and he's running again, which is super cool. Like, I think it's awesome that he's involved and almost passionate about what the city does. So
Right.
it was really cool just to talk to them about their lives and how involved they are.
That's special. So the other thing that you guys talked about a little bit about jobs, what's looking forward for you? Like Emma, what's one of the things that you want to do after high school?
I want to be a physical therapist and specialize in pediatrics. So I'm going to go to community college and get my general education and then transfer to university. But with that, they were talking about jobs and all of that stuff, right? And so applying for scholarships and applying for colleges, it's really important. So they were giving us tips on how to do that. And one of them was to like have a very professional email or look professional, you know, like it'll go a long way if you have a resume that's like really good, you know? So when you're applying for jobs and everything like that, you need to be professional about it. And I think I took it more towards applying for colleges because that's what I want to do
Your
after high
next
school.
step in life is get to college.
Yeah.
You know, what were some of the takes that you got, and what do you want to do after
Well,
school?
what I want to do after school is I'm planning on going to Bible college, and then after that I'm planning to do something in the mission field, but I'm sure I'll have to have a job other than that to help fund some of that. So how you look up the business before you go in for the interview to learn stuff about that. And it's good general skills when applying for jobs.
Yeah, I think it's real important to know maybe what your position would be, or at least know what the business does. I can tell you I've had several job interviews, people don't even have a clue about what we are or the business, and you just kind of go, okay, you didn't do a whole lot of research, of things there. So there are some great skills that you have to have with that. Also, a resume, what do they teach you about a resume, what it should look like or how it should be?
Just a list of your credentials, is that the right word?
Credentials,
Yes. So, that's how it was, and just be very professional. They did say a lot about you use pen, it's a very, they were talking about how when they get resumes in and they're in pencil, they just kind of throw them away, you know what I mean?
Right.
And when they have bad grammar or something like that. So they encouraged us to use good grammar, to know a lot about the business that we're applying to, and to list all our credentials and be more involved so it looks better on your resume.
It's got to look good. The resume's got to look good. It's got to, be on, I don't want to see that I'm the fifth copy of a copy machine that was breaking down or something, and, it just stapled, the staples were taken out of it. I mean, you'll be surprised what people actually turn in and the things they have. So what's one of the biggest things that you'd like to see change? If we want to talk about change for a little bit here, if I were to pinpoint one of the changes you'd like to see at the school, then I'm going to challenge you to say a change that you'd like to see in our community as well.
Well, one of the changes I would like to see is us being more involved in the community, because us seeing the student governments kind of inspired us that we want to be more involved in the community. We're already decently involved, we do the student government day where we follow you around to see what you're doing. But one of the people brought up an idea where they do a whole day where they create bunk beds, they make bunk beds for people who need them.
Right.
So just community things that we get to know you guys and we get to help the community and give back as much as we can.
That's great.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just being more involved in our school, in sports teams and everything. Football is a huge thing, and everybody's involved in that. But we also have girls soccer and girls volleyball, and then there's the boys soccer team. Just all of those other teams that aren't supported as much. I feel like we just really need to push and support the kids that are involved and not doing bad things, with their time, but they're really investing in their future with playing sports and being in all these different clubs and everything.
And I think it's taking personal responsibility. I look at the school and I look at things and I say, the students could do better. There's trash, there's graffiti. There's things that as students, I think you guys need to take a initiative is saying, hey, how can we, clean up, being vice president over there. Maybe it's we're going to have a Cougar Day where maybe we spend some time, going out and cleaning up just around the school, things like that. And I'd also like how we invite you to come and shadow us a day. I would throw out the invitation for sometime you guys to invite us to come and shadow you a day.
Yeah,
I mean,
you guys would be
I
interested
could
in
handle
that?
a day in algebra or, or something, or go to your student council
Sure.
meetings or something like that.
Yeah.
But I would love to do that, and I'm sure we have some council members that would love to come into the school, with you and shadow you guys for a day.
That'd be
too, of
awesome.
what you're
Yeah,
doing.
we would
So-
love that.
So let us know if you want to set it up sometime. We'd be happy to
Sure.
do that. Okay? Well, thanks so much for being here. Anything else you want to say? Hi, shout out to all your fans or
Yeah, shout
everything
out
out
to
there.
everybody.
Mom.
And we also would like to thank you for letting us go to that convention. It was like a wonderful opportunity. We learned so many things.
Yeah, so
Really
thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks so much for doing it.
Of course.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Inside City Hall. If you have any questions, give us a call here at the city, and we'll be happy to answer anything that we can. Thank you, and have a great day.